Yo, what is up, Pepperoni? Figured do a little preliminary map review here, just get some initial thoughts. Obviously, we have a little announcement to get a guild macro set up already, but that being said, I still wanted to dive in anyway. Just some initial thoughts that I think are super interesting. Number one, this map is actually or not much, but longer than some of the average maps we've had recently. This map is, in total, 15 spaces wide. For context, the Karn map that we're on is only 13 spaces wide, so 2 spaces less. And Coastline, which is the beach map that we played more recently, is 13 spaces wide. So this one gives a little bit extra range that we haven't been accustomed to, or at least haven't seen in like 3-4 maps, let's say. In terms of height, I think something also interesting, I don't know if it really means much, is that it doesn't start at height 0, it starts at height 2, which is kind of unique, that it goes from 2 upwards of 7, which is like as high as I can remember on some of these Guild War maps. I think for pathing, some of the other interesting things here is there's a very, very obvious funnel on the bridge here, where technically all this black area is spots that you cannot traverse, and like can't even jump over. It's literally like a hard barrier. So, very obvious funnel lanes here to go toward the middle potentially. And then also to take note, particularly as it comes to the slots here, there's a really hard ledge of 2 jump here that whoever's in these slots, unless they have jump of 2, is going to have to like waste a turn going this way and then this way. So essentially, they're gonna take a little longer to get toward the middle, as opposed to their teammate in the middle here who's going to be able to kind of walk straight ahead, provided there isn't any kind of like teammate buff and agility tuning you can do to like get this person to go here, and like maybe this person has enough move to like buff here, and then you can kind of like take it on. But that's obviously a little more micro than macro. If I had to guess where the slot for aggro would be here, I genuinely think it's toss-up, and I do think there's some situations to exploit things. I think my gut instinct for like the most repeatable results would probably to be putting your tank here in that middle slot, if only because obviously you want your tank to truly be the front line. You don't want them to get outpaced, but also because you're going to hopefully be able to draw this team into like a clumping situation here. And both this height difference in the middle here is at maximum height of 2, which means Black Rosalina can nuke all that area uncontested, basically. There's no height drop off for her. And so far as I understand how aggro works in this game, if there was a, let's say, ledge here, where this was still traversable terrain, these people would actually go stand at this edge and like hit each other. But that's not the case, as far as I know, for areas that are like literally you cannot go there and they're not part of the map at all. If that's the case, it'll essentially block LOS from anybody, and they will not ever get into a situation where they'll like both stand here and attack each other. They will always go up this way. I do think there's some opportunities for Keenblade, where obviously someone even like Gilgamesh, particularly since this is an ice missile map up, who knows how we can exploit that, but Gilgamesh does have a jump of 2 potentially, where he could go right here, Keenblade this slot, and the 2 of them walk forward as this person takes up the back. So I could quite easily see a situation where, Gilgamesh comes here to Keenblade a Dwayne. Dwayne starts moving forward, so doesn't he, and then Black Rosalina comes up on the back. And essentially by the time this fight happens, these 2 have already been up here, hopefully with some AoE attacks of their own in terms of Kotetsu and what Dwayne has to offer, and then Black Rose comes and just smokes everything in sight. I'm going to go on a limb here and say that evasion is extremely, extremely bad on this map. As a comp, I would not run it personally. And I say that just because this map, out of any map, is probably like the hardest funnel I think I've seen in absolutely quite some time. There are no flank routes. There is no creative way to get around the map. There is no siloed, top half versus bottom half like we're seeing with the Ancient Ruins here. This is really a super hard mirror map with a very distinct funnel that any evasion unit that is going to pop up in here is just going to be in the way of all the spam damage. And sure, there aren't many AoE guaranteed hit abilities in the game, so there's an opportunity that you're not going to get that, sharpshoot or the, let's say, Black Rosalina guaranteed hit, but there's still the evasion buff where they're going to be in the AoE and they're going to be taking dark resistance down and SPR down and all those things that are essentially just going to nuke them in a matter of RNG. It's only like a turn or 2 that it's just going to matter of time going to happen. And that's it for now. I can't wait to test a little bit more. I do think there are opportunities here to AGI tune with these slots to make sure that your middle character doesn't actually move forward. I think the most common instance I would think of is something like King Mont without Shikuchi would technically go this way. And if you make him faster than her, he'll take that route. Then her next turn, I would imagine she would do like her dark accuracy up buff, which would bring her this way. And then with any luck, this character over here can kind of close the distance. And then if you make Black Rosalina slow enough, which I know is kind of odd, you don't always get to see that, but you can essentially keep her back here for a moment, allow them to maybe turtle just a little bit longer than they normally would. And so that by the time this team gets here in the middle, they're already grouped up for an AoE. You can just blast them away.